Hello, YouTube. So, I had gotten some questions about moments, pivotal moments, stuff like that, that had to do with knowing that I was trans and then preparing for transition. And I was actually kind of racking my brain about this because um, when I realized it, I got this flood of, things that clicked that just kind of, it was like an awakening. And it's a bit of a blur on some of the other stuff. But this is not what I'm about to relay is probably not an exhaustive list of things, but there are some ones that in retrospect I think that were pretty important, and some general kind of feelings too. So to start, also I want to mention eventually I'll be going by the name Serena, so I might as well start with that. So hi, I'm Serena. Um, since some people are getting to know me on that, like Rosie and Nicole and some of the other girls that I talk with now, which has been great. I've totally used this as a support community. There's a lot of positive trans girls in YouTube that are amazing. So go Google Plus, get to chat live, fun stuff. So an update on physical changes. Right now I'm on day 59. Very exciting. Almost 60 days, 2 months, thereabouts. Decrease in muscle mass. I looked in the mirror the other day and I realized my head was bigger, and I was like, "Oh no, that's not one of the changes." But my shoulders are actually smaller, so by proportion, I realized, oh, my shoulders are smaller, my head's not bigger. Trans humor. Anyway, skin still, getting softer. What else? Pouting lip kind of thing happening. I don't know if that's very much what I reported last time, but I did. I put one of my day 1 pictures pitted against my day 55 picture, and I could really see differences then. Just the overall softening of the skin. And my lighting here sucks. It's like super bright, so what are you gonna do? Wrinkles, old person. So anyway, when I've been thinking about FFS, the facial feminization surgery, it's more along with my brow and with my jaw, but we'll see what happens as time passes. So, on to the exciting part. But throughout my life, there's been nagging questions that I've had. Um, One of them was, why am I more comfortable in the LGBT community? Question mark. Um, that's been a thing for my whole life, as far back as I can remember. Now, I used to think it was because, I had a little bit of a rough upbringing. Um, no need to get too much in detail about that. If my parents ever watch this, they have a different opinion. Whatever. Um, anyway, I I always felt like, it's like, oh, okay, I feel better in that environment because they accept, all these things that are wrong with me and all these flaws, and that's they're accepting, and that's what it is. I really want that acceptance, and I can get it there, and blah blah blah. So that must be why I was comfortable in that community. Um, so I thought I had that answer right. So that was my answer of why I was so much more comfortable in that community. Also, what was my attraction to guys? I had this nagging question in the back of my head. You see, this one of those things in retrospect. I realized that I didn't want to be with guys as a guy. I wanted to be with guys as girl. Um, and I still don't know what it is about women in my life. Like, do I want to be with the woman as a woman, or is it, I'm just attracted to people? I mean, I resigned myself some time ago, when it comes to sexuality, that I'm bi and I'm basically attracted to people, because that's been what I've done. Um, Not necessarily articulated as much as I had actually done it in my life as an action. I've been attracted to people. That's a thing. So the sexuality has always been a question, and it is linked to gender identity for me, of course. Duh. But it's not overtly a gender issue like in transition. I'm not thinking about my sexuality pretty much at all right now in transition, at all, really. So it's just transitioning. That's what's going on. So another thing that used to happen too is I used to be in these short-term relationships all the time. I dated a lot, and I used to think it's like, oh, I'm a player, blah blah blah, not as something to be proud of, but as a way to figure out, well, what the hell is that? And it never made sense to me because I'm pretty ardent feminist and was always very respectful of all these kinds of things. I mean, I had my, my pain in the ass times, but there isn't a person who isn't a difficult person. Uh, I think if they're not acting difficult, if they're being too amiable, then well, just wait. There's something under the surface. Um, but those relationships were short-lived often, and in retrospect, I look back and I'm like, oh, I see. Well, I wanted to be near what I wanted to be physically. That's what it was. I didn't want to be with that woman. I wanted to be that woman to some degree. So I didn't understand why those relationships kind of petered off. Like they started out, bonded and stuff, and this only really changed when I met the woman who's now my wife, and we've been together for 12 years. I never lived with a girlfriend before that. We met when I was like 24 or 25. I dated a lot, played in bands, all this kind of stuff. Which, by the way, that's the whole Best at Recess thing. That was one of the bands I was in. I thought it was hilarious because Best at Recess, it's like one of those things everybody sees and nobody cares about. And then also has the double entendre with being Best at Recess, which is to wait, best at waiting and biding your time. But anyway, saw a squirrel. Sorry. So I really like my wife now is really a person that I'm with, not necessarily like the gender thing. Of course, I was attracted to her in the beginning. That sounds bad. You know what I mean, right? I was like, but now we're together and we're family and we're, in it. And she sees me as a person despite what I'm doing with my gender, and I'm with her wholeheartedly as a person. I see her. And all those romantic notions, they're wonderful. And I had listed here, I have a little list I'm reading. The sexuality thing, I tried to delineate. I was looking for that label. It's like, am I gay? Am I bi? Am I straight? Like, what is that? I mean, I like women, but I'm like, so it's kind of was always confusing to me, and now it's not. So it's like it's really hard for me to put my thumb on those pivotal times, because these nagging questions are the things that slowly brought it all into focus. But I created a little list of some milestones that I think, when I look back, make a lot of sense to me. So I wrote down from as early as I can remember, I've had to temper my behavior to be appropriate as a male. Now, I've done football in college. Ha ha ha. I was horrible. I ended up playing the first scrimmage. I suited up for the game. I was a left guard, offensive line, and the first game of football that I've ever watched from beginning to end, I watched from the sidelines in uniform. Now, this isn't like, it's not really a gender thing, I guess. I don't know. There's women that are into football, so it's not like it's necessary but not sufficient, perhaps. But the thing about it is it's rare, I guess, for guys to be like that. I don't know. Sports had never really been my thing. I just want to stay in shape, and I thought it'd be fun, but I should have done soccer because, like, oh my god, I ended up, playing that first scrimmage, right, and then I was actually getting a degree in music, and so I was like, oh, I have too many performance groups. I need to leave the team, and the coach was like, well, I need somebody to take statistics. So as it turns out, I kicked ass at statistics. I was like really good at taking offensive statistics and running numbers, looking at average passes and all this kind of stuff, completions and yards gained, and so. Nerdcore. So yeah, really good at stats. But anyway, so that was a move to try and act manly, too. I'm like, oh, play sport, and I was reading Football for Dummies in college. Oh my god. And I actually did ROTC for a while, Army. I was a corporal because I came in my second year of college, and then I would have come out as a second lieutenant, but I couldn't commission for medical reasons because of my asthma. And that was another one, trying to be, male in recovery, it's to keep my anonymity. I went to men's meetings to learn how to like grow up and be a man, and all this stuff is. So it's basically it's like there's more. There's more stuff I've done to try and figure out this like manliness, and I've just never been comfortable. And ironically enough, I always was most comfortable in groups of men that were talking about their feelings, which it's like all stereotypes notwithstanding. It's like, well, I mean that's not pursuing what it is to be a guy. I mean, I don't know. It's not a function of high testosterone necessarily to talk about feelings on a hormonal level. I can assure you of that. Having lost some testosterone lately. So, let's see what else. Oh yeah, cross-dressing until the end of middle school. So basically until I started high school. I didn't really know anybody did that. I was in an East Side school. And middle school was just social alienation, and then high school was, East Side, and elementary school was just more isolation, and I wasn't talking with anybody about that kind of stuff. I mean, that was the furthest from my mind. There was so many other things like bad grades and all this stuff that was coming about, and trying to fit in socially, and just like not making it. I mean, I almost got kicked out of school in sixth grade, and I like, oh my god, I like joined this stupid gang in my middle school. It was like so cheesy, but I got jumped in, so hey, hardcore. Wow, good times. The things we do to fit in, right? So yeah, it's a cross-dressing gang member. That's funny. But anyway, it was a total burp where I went to school. It wasn't, and then I went to an East Side high school, so ironically enough, the place where I was supposed to like in a gang was total white bread burb, like nothing. It was it's almost laughable to use the word gang, but anyway, so I did what I did completely in isolation. I took some clothes, raided my mom's trash to get a bra, all this stuff, and I would dress up, mainly in the bathroom, just bring that stuff with me, hang out, dress up, and just I did a lot of other things too. It was just a way in which I could feel comfortable, and I didn't understand all that then. I didn't understand that I was more comfortable that way. I didn't understand that I should have been more comfortable in my day, perhaps, that people didn't walk around as kind of uncomfortable as I did. But I didn't get that. I didn't understand. I had no name for it. Nothing. And when I went on to high school and stuff, there was this guy that liked me, and my friends were all telling me, it's like, oh, some guy liked me, I'd kick his ass, blah blah blah. And I didn't feel that way at all. And I remember specifically looking at the photo of him. I think it was like junior prom or something. He was gay, and he of course took a super hot chick to the prom, and I was just like, I looked at her, and I remember being confused because like I liked him, but I didn't want to be with her, but I liked the way that she looked, and now I know I wanted to be like her. It's so weird, all this stuff. It's retrospect. So a general feeling of discomfort in my own skin. I've been sober, clean, and sober, as I like to distinguish, for over 5.5 years, and it really, like, talk about giving me a sense of peace with all of this transition stuff. I mean, realizing this now, I'm more sane than I've ever been in my life. I don't have anything that I'm abusing to numb my brain, to numb my emotions, to keep myself from emotionally growing. People, who are addicts. Actually, let me step back. I, as an addict, I, as an addict, used substances to numb out and to numb what I was feeling, and I didn't grow emotionally. And I grew physically, and I grew intellectually, but I didn't grow emotionally. So that stunting of my growth, took its toll. I think it was around my freshman or sophomore year in high school that I really started drinking a lot, and that actually, in retrospect, it corresponds with when I stopped cross-dressing. And I didn't have any outlet apparently for that, and I dated and I drank and I got through school barely again, and no, my screen timed out, and well, 15 minutes already. Wow, I guess I have a lot to say, but I feel all good. In my program, we have a higher power, spiritually. Basically, I guess I could say that, that I believe there's a higher power, and it's not me. So there you go. And I feel very, oh my God, there's no question in my mind that this is not approved of. I have no guilt with God or anything with religion, or it's not. I mean, it's such a peaceful thing. See, the thing is that this discomfort in my own skin has been like this cloud of shame, this guilt, and this shame. I said shame, guilt, and discomfort hanging over me, even after getting sober. And I have all these things in my life fixed and lined up, and honest with all these people, and made these amends, and I'm in this happy place, and yet there's still something nagging at me. And until I realized this, it was there, and now it's gone. I'm this is my last, I don't know if it's my last vestige of freedom that I finally got, but man, this has been hard earned. Some of the problems I caused myself, some I just didn't know better. That's okay. We don't always know better. I mean, come on, we only know what we know at the given time, and even that's precarious. So it's been this has all been a relief. Now, the comfort in my own skin, just as a side note, I was being treated for depression prior to realizing this, right? And I used to go in and I'd fill out these forms, and I get these depression scores, and mine were like super high, like 30 something, but now I've gone and it's like 3, 4, 5, and I just have this like standard anxiety, that any person would have about life. I mean, life's kind of tough at times, So that's my discomfort in my own skin little ditty there. Yeah, period of playing in bands from the time I was like 17 till the time I was 24. I played in groups, and I just got this like vibe of androgyny. I was androgynous in a sense, not super wearing eyeliner or anything cool like that. I didn't really have the wherewithal for that, but I was a lot more open at that time, and I was more peaceful because of that. And I that didn't click with me. The thing is that a lot of people, when they go to college, they open up. Well, that's not happened with me. With me, I went back to college when I was 24, and I butched up. I was just like, oh, ROTC, football. I wanted to find, where I was supposed to. I was doing it to assimilate, because, I'd always been the kind of rebel without a cause, and, played in punk bands and all that kind of stuff. And, I was like tired of working some of the jobs I was working, and tired of the glass ceiling, and wanted to do something different. So, a real huge one, I was advisor for this LGBT celebration month, and I saw a spectrum of sexuality I hadn't seen. Now, this is fairly recent. This is about just over 2 years ago. So you can see, this timeline, it's 4 months since I really kind of like just started to pursue transition. But the thing is that, over 2 years ago, I saw a spectrum of expression of gender I hadn't seen. I saw somebody who was a female to male that I thought was a male to female. I saw somebody who was not even trying to transition that I know of, but just cross-dressing every day, and just was so brave. And I, once again, it's like, why am I so comfortable here? Why do I want to be here? I'm a liar because I'm married, and I already chose a side, and I'm barely bi. And, I felt like almost, kind of guilty for wanting to be around that group more than anything else in the world, because I felt like I was being illegitimate. I didn't know that I was part of I didn't know I was the T. And, but, it stuck those nagging questions in my head, like, why is this more comfortable? What do I admire about women? What am I attracted to? What am I really attracted to? What's going on? Because, you see, I love my wife, right? And there hasn't been anybody else that I've been interested in. Anytime, like, I get this itch, everybody does. It's okay to be attracted to people. and I get this itch. I'm like, wow, this other girl's really attractive, and da da da. But it always falls flat. It's like, well, what do I want? And I'm like, well, I don't want them physically, and the relationship I have with my wife is amazing. So, what's up with that? Like, what's going on with that? What is that? And it's those kinds of questions that led me here. Now, another pivotal moment was playing Second Life, being on that virtual reality thing. I found about virtual realities in a information technology class, and I checked it out, and it was not a second thought in my brain to be female. Now, this isn't something where I went in there and I gave myself, double E breasts and, flaunted my ass to a bunch of guys or something like that. It was, my favorite outfit actually was my nerd glasses. I had long black hair. I wore a shirt that said "Nerd is the new sexy" and skinny jeans and ballet flats. And I had all these other outfits and stuff, and I would go, and I had a couple guys I was friends with, and I told them straight out, I'm like, look, this is, it's Second Life, I'm just here to hang, I'm not here to try and develop anything, even virtually. I don't want to, I'm not here for some kind of like virtual sex thing. And it was cool, and I hung out, and I talked to them the way that I felt comfortable talking. I realized how feminine it was. The ways in which I think about things, the way I see things, I tend to have a lot more in common with the women that I know than the guys that I know. I mean, that's, once again, stereotypes notwithstanding. I don't know exactly what that is, not a hard science, but, like I always like to say, there's more differences among women than there are between men and women. So, but the simple fact of the matter is that to these guys, I sound like a girl, and I realized something. As I was very excited to go on, I was on there for about a week, late into the night, 2 or 3 a.m., hanging out with some of the guys, and I eventually told my wife about it, and then I showed her my avatar, and I'm like, this is me on the inside. And so we talked about it, and she's like, well, if that's, what you feel like if that works for you as an outlet, feel free, have fun. But then things changed. I learned some of the verbiage. I learned the verbiage of transition. I learned some of the other terms in this process. And I think it was the most pivotal moment, the one that got me to where I am now, is YouTube. And, looking back, and that's part of the reason why I'm sitting here now talking with you, is because all the other girls who've been on here were pivotal for me. Rosie O'Kelly, Shay, Transocean, Nicole, and especially in the beginning, Emma B, EMMA B. She's actually doing a fundraiser for her transition, for her SRS, I think it is, she wants to do. So, hit her up, donate. If you're not, one of these people like me that's saving like crazy, even I donate a little bit, but it's, I'm pinching my pennies. But I feel like I wanted to do these videos because I felt like I owed a lot to these girls. And just as a side note, before all this, I was on antidepressants, I was on this, then I was on that, and I would still fantasize about putting a gun in my mouth every morning driving to work. And ROTC, I was an armed courier for a year actually too. Had a shotgun, 9mm, carried cash all day long. And another man job where I didn't really pan out as a guy very well. That didn't work out so well. I wasn't very good at it. The job, I was good at the job. Driving and having a gun, come on, it's easy. But just the whole, getting along with my partner thing, not so much. I was kind of more emotional and whiny, and I was in my androgynous phase, and I just thought it would be fun to go from being a peace activist to being an armed courier. The layers. So anyway, this is god-awfully long, 24 minutes. I never do that in all of my billion videos. So anyway, I hope that answers some of the questions. I want to do some more videos pretty quick. Who knows, maybe I'll even do another one today. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is I didn't know if I'd ever have much to talk about, but I want to do a whole video on gratitude. I want to do a whole video on why I am not going to reproduce. It's got to make somebody feel good. Nobody cares about me not reproducing. It's going to make it to the end of this video, right? So, and then also, yeah, I think in the gratitude one, I also mentioned about, how happy I am that some of the girls I've heard that were thinking about suicide never did it. And like Rosie did her video about, almost jumping off the bridge. And, wow, thank God she didn't, right? Like, she's like the big sister I never had. And Shay almost detransitioned. And, she didn't. She's back, and she's around. And she's a big part of my life now. All those girls are. So I guess that's about it now. I hope that talks about some of the stuff. Maybe I should tell the story about how, like, aggressively I pursued my HRT letter. Oh my God. So much money, too. Felt like I was paying for the letter in the end. Like, in one of my psych sessions, I actually, like, typed while she dictated. Then I went to Kinko's and I brought it back to her later that night. I don't know. Let me know if you want to hear that story. It's funny. Kind of once I decide something, I am on it. Yeah, can't stop me. So anyway, thanks y'all for watching. Hope it helps, and thanks to all the ladies who came before me that were really brave, and I'm just happy to be in that company. Bye now.